What up, lovelies? It's time for another Sketchy Saturday. I'm sorry I had to miss last week, but I had an amazing time at a Renaissance fair, so, you gotta take your losses. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week, or 2 weeks at this point. Yeah, went to a Ren fair last week, had a triple record in sales, and it has been incredible. Um, and life is finally getting, back to normal for me. But what has everyone been up to this week? See,
Hey, what's up?
how has your week been?
It's been a week. Yes, it's been long.
Yeah, no, exactly. It has been a week.
My week has been very busy. I hope you don't think I'm doing this to promote, but I did launch my Kickstarter. But that's been pretty busy, and it's been going well.
No. Well, we're glad to have you. I mean,
Nice.
don't worry too much. Like, it's good to have you, man. Because I actually don't think I've ever talked to you before. Besides, in Nevermind the Furthermore. So,
Right.
very much welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Marty, how about yourself? How has your week been?
Did you say Rodney?
MarV.
My week has been with a lot of work overtime, a lot of to do at the factory. I'm working on Michael Hunter of Men for my second book of the series I'm making of the Sin Killer. I got the proofs from Midsum. They suck because the cover is just too much ink on the cover. And, well, let's hope next week I'll find a way to get some new stuff done. And that was my week. A little bit shitty, but.
Now we move on to you, Rodney.
Okay. I've had a pretty good week. Working on Roadkill Rampage.
Yeah.
Without mentioning it, doing our thing with our live thing, and other than that, working on a script for issue 3 of Pitter Patter.
Guys, it's fine to talk about your campaigns. Just keep in mind we don't, go over the campaigns here like that. Like, by all means, promote your stuff.
Okay.
We do it shamelessly. Everybody does. It's supposed to happen like that. But it's even more awesome when you actually see someone working on it, actively like this. Well, he's doing the new Predator right now, and Oh my God, man, that looks godlike.
Thanks.
Wow.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something to kind of get my mind off of everything else. So, as you guys know, the Kickstarters can be pretty hairy and stressful. So, we're down to the last 4 or 5 days for Roadkill Rampage 3. It's going really well. We're already funded, and we're just trying to get to a specific stretch goal to unlock a couple of things. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, but as you all know, it's very stressful. So, I streamed last night with Sean Forney, and I did a Dreamer from what's it called, Sandman, and then I put this on the desk last night real quick and got it ready for this morning, so I can just go nuts. I love even though my strength is the cartooning, I love also doing this high-end detailed stuff where I can just get lost in the lines and my mind wanders, and that's when I come up with some of my best story ideas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No.
Let me find something with a whole bunch of texture and lines, and that'll get me my next script idea. So that's been my week.
Awesome. Right. Hold on. Let me move over to John Celestri, how has your week been?
It's been pretty good, I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's all
Nice.
pretty good. I mean, let's see. Went to the doctor and everything is clean. I'm good.
That is important.
I've got, I've got my, annual, and everything is good and clean and what have you. And let's see, got my boosters. It's kind of funny, but artwork wise, I've finished. At least I'm working on pages for to color, and I'm I'm coloring my next by the Bloodwing Angel stuff, and this is an angel. I'm working on an angel for one of the pages, and so I use medieval paintings and references for what angels really look like.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating thing.
They're terrifying.
They're supposed to be fierce. They're
Yeah.
and that's the most important thing about it, is that these are really they're not joking around. They're not little cherubs.
Yeah.
So
from what I understand, the idea that angels have wings actually came from one passage in the Bible where they're describing an angel who's so gruesome looking that if human eyes saw him, they would instantly turn to dust. And so it had wings.
What? No.
How gruesome.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, that's not in the Bible, man. Sorry.
Well,
No,
in the Old Testament, there are referencing to let's say circles, of flame and such. But I don't go to the Bible for references. I'm looking at the visuals, and if you look at the medieval paintings, there's you've got all these various you've got your Raphael angels with humans with wings on their back, which is one thing. But there's also if you look at some of the other wings characters where there's several faces in one side or another. There are multiple faces, eyes on wings. There's six wings, 8 wings, circles.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. But if you go into all of they start creating imagery for for the peasants. Basically, that's what it is. I mean,
beautiful beings.
Yeah, and so I'm just using that as referencing for what I'm doing, and some of them are quite interesting, but so that's the fun part of doing drawing, and that is I kind of like being inspired, but I don't like the copy.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I try to just say, okay, this is going to be good, but I got to do something different. So,
you got to make it your own.
Yeah, we're all influenced by what we see, but you've got to look at more than just one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's been my week. I'm drawing angels and coloring them. So
that is a very good thing to do. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Now I'm actually using my handicap one Wacom Bamboo to because I've been getting used to it again, working on working on the Laugh and Cora pilot. So it's it's getting better, but I just missed that control. I really need a new one. But I need a new pen display, but like money is going into new books, so you gotta take the losses. No, I'm having fun, and I haven't been able to work on this as much as I'd like to. This comic should have been done in March. To give you a reference. Oh well, it's the publisher's life for me. Hey.
Yep.
And so how are the campaigns doing, guys? Because I'm actually not running anything right now.
Roadshow Rampage is doing really well. We're just shy of $4,000.
Oh wow!
5 days to go. We funded in 49 minutes, 47 minutes.
Wow.
So it's just been from that point just unlocking stretch goals and everything. So if we get to $4,000, we're going to unlock another metal sketch card of one of the pivotal characters in issue 3. And then if we get to 4250, we are going to add 4 pages of additional content to the book, and we already okayed that with Adam Fields, the artist on the book. And do what? Yeah, and it may not be all Adam. I might get to stretch my wings, so it's just going to be content. We haven't defined what that is going to be yet. So once we get to 4250, we'll worry about that. That's where we are. It ends on Thursday night at 8:30. So,
well, there you go, guys. Be quick.
Yeah, you guys are going to get sick of hearing about it for the next 5 days. So I apologize in advance. But I assure you, after Thursday, it's over.
Then comes the part where you talk about fulfilling it all.
Yes.
Oh,
Have a shipping party.
Do you fulfill your own campaigns?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your living room, dining room, bedroom, bathroom, all filled with boxes and such, or
the basement studio.
Oh, lucky!
That's awesome.
You have a basement? Jeez.
Yeah. That's where the studio's at.
Man cave.
It's separate from everything else.
I mean, I have my studio and I'm very happy with it, but being able to have it actually outside of the house, or at least, its own thing from the rest of the house, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be separated from everything else going on in the house. Means I don't have to wear my headphones when I'm listening to music.
And I flip these characters around. Also, I will go and grab it in a little bit, but last weekend I finished the cover for Lock and Cora 6, even though I'm not even done with the comic itself yet. Because that's how it goes.
Sweet.
Yeah, I did first the cover of the Sin Killer, and then I finished the book, so it must be something that we all do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Facebook. Hey, this is Frank.
Who's watching things?
Hey, aren't we entertaining enough?
Yeah, guys, what's going on?
I thought I heard of Brian.
Exactly. I like this orientation better.
So do y'all do warm-up sketches before you start working on your main pieces, or how do you start your work? He just goes right into it, huh?
Oh yeah, no, I don't care. Like, what do you mean I need warm-up? Just like my first 3 lines, and after that, the dip pen does it all on its own.
I draw I doodle at breakfast. I'll just do, just warm up shapes and forms and things of that sort. I don't try and draw anything. I just let my fingers do it. But it's kind of like, what is it? Finger exercises when you're playing a piano.
Yeah.
That's been my go-to. So I don't have to think about it. I don't worry about it. I'm just letting the body and fingers flow.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you find a lot of?
That is a very good way to start for sure. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just wondering. So, you say that you kind of get your fingers warmed up, just kind of doodling? So, do you find that a lot of muscle memory plays into how you lay your lines?
Well, I'm just I will just draw emotionally, whatever I feel. I just let it happen, and sometimes you get really good accidents,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I'm just sweeping across the the body and just saying okay, and it allows me to learn. I'm not drawing shapes versus forces, and the forces can give you that feeling of movement much more than just trying to manipulate a shape.
Oh yes.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I'll draw something, just to say, okay, where is this character, or what is this that happening? I'll just draw it, and I'll say, okay, straight against a bend, a curve against an elbow. I just don't think about shapes at all because, again, that's my animation background.
Right.
It's, forces and forms, and then once you've done the force, then you can put any shape you want on top of it because it's you've got the force is affecting the form.
Yes.
And that's how you can get, a lot better feeling for what you want to happen with that character or whatever. So, and that's how you can draw real quick. Again, it's basically like drawing quick movement. Attitude. It's all attitude. And in attitude, it's purely your first impression. Just lay it down. And so again, that becomes the muscle memory of understanding how quickly to get that line across the page and just capture it with one simple movement. But you're not doing anything perfect. You're just just feeling it, and that's what you're doing. At least that's my attitude.
Yeah.
How close is attitude to confidence when you're in your strokes? It's pretty close.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm always searching.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'm not worried about being perfect.
Okay.
And I constantly redraw. But I know that from me, I know that my first take of something is going to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I'll lay down and say, let me just empty this here.
Okay.
That's my first doodly boo. Okay.
Okay.
Look at that. There's a first, and I'm only looking at shapes and forms here. It's not a matter of I'm not worried about it. I'm saying, okay, where is this character is, and how much this area is needed to take up. So I'd say here I've got all of this. Yeah. I've got all of this stuff.
And the thing is, even though you're making it for yourself, anyone can read off on what is supposed to be the final result.
Right.
And not many people are able to make their thumbnails like that.
Well, okay. For me, I'm talking about we're talking almost 50 years of professional stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I've gone through my first 10,000 hours of
Bad art.
actual work.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I did. Even before becoming a professional, I did 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 hours before that. But when I became a professional, the first 5 years, I came in with talent, but it was daily work on as an 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 5 days a week. Learn it, and really you learn how to take your art but become very confident in what you're doing, because you may know what the tools are, but you're learning how to manipulate the tools. That's the first 5,000 first 10,000
Right.
hours. It's after you've reached that point, then you start becoming who you are and allowing yourself to come out, because you have a confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that question is because my wife bought a couple of in-betweens, Pepe Le Pew,
Okay.
a couple of months back, and we got them framed, and she hung her 2 pieces in the bedroom, and I hung my 2 pieces in the studio basement. And so they're on my side of the bed. So I lay there and I look at this pencil, this in between of Pepe, and I just marvel at, like, I stand up and I go and I look at it, and I just marvel at the confidence of the strokes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the in betweens. You can kill or make the drawing.
Yeah.
And you really need to have that for it to be, for it to work. I've had, I've had to throw away lots of drawings, from my experience, but then also as an animator, and tell my in-betweener, no, this ain't working. You messed it up.
Yeah.
That's not, but then again, that artwork, what Pepe Le Pew, I mean, all of those Warner Brothers guys, they really, really were, knew what they were doing, because every animator could draw back then.
Yeah.
And
there was no specialization. There was, you do this thing or you're out.
Oh yeah. You really needed to know how to do, your artwork, and so, and most people, and here's a big difference, is that in the initial stages, those people did not have animation schools to go to.
Right.
They were art schools. Cartooning was because you needed to make a living.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big thing there.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same with comics, really. Like back in the day, if you wanted, quick cash, you went and did a comic.
Right. The reason why, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the reason why Stan Lee called himself Stan Lee was because he thought eventually he was going to write the great American novel, and he wanted to save his real name for when he wrote real literature.
I believe that. Yeah.
That never happened.
Yeah.
Not in the way he wanted to, that's for sure.
Well, we get caught up in this idea of how things are supposed to. Well, my daughter was saying the other day, why do we consider something live action as being that's the confirmation? why does live action have to be the confirmation? Why do we look at medium being a confirmation when it's the work that should be the confirmation? And even though Stan Lee didn't write the quote unquote great American novel, he still contributed to American culture and on a phenomenal level.
Oh yeah,
Even more so than he could have writing a Moby Dick that didn't sell very well the first time it was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference between Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and not to get it going, is that Kirby went into the business, with the attitude that he respected the comics. So
Right.
he didn't. The only reason he used different names when he started out is because he was drawing so many things. They needed to have more than one name, for the publications that he was working for. So, there's a difference in attitude that way.
Yeah.
And so,
I think, as far as your daughter's question goes, I think that people like us that have our hands in the industry in one way, shape, or form, we don't consider the movies the accepted versions of any characters,
Right.
because we grew up with the comic book version or the cartoon version. But what she probably is too young to understand is the studio executives are rubber stamping these things out and pushing them out for mass consumption. So Joey Bag of Donuts and his wife and 3 kids consume this character that is going to have a different costume in every movie, and so they can go get the same character in a different costume and a toy every 6 months. And that's what they get used to. The kids, anybody 30 and under that have grown up on the MCU, they've probably never read the original Phoenix Saga or a Kree Skrull War in the Avengers or anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my opinion. It's to me, the definitive versions of Captain America or the Fantastic Four is, John Byrne's Captain America or Kirby's Fantastic Four. But that's us old timers.
No, but you're right though. Like, also, Grant, I love that tree. Legit. But like, it is true. Like and I'm a Franco-Belgian creator. I'm a Franco-Belgian comic lover. Like, that is my that's what I grew up on and everything, and people notice by now. But even so, the people that only know the newer Asterix movies, the kids, they're like, this was a comic once? And I'm like, yeah, this was made 60 years ago.
Yeah.
By a guy that only made 6 albums before, his life was taken too early. Just so you could have this movie 60 years later, and it is, one of the funniest things in the world because of it. And I am struggling with this expression so hard.
I mean, but isn't that art? I mean, look at Van Gogh. Look at how many artists have died penniless and weren't appreciated until after they were gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems to be the status quo in the industry.
And you got fools like us going, "Oh, I want to be an artist." It's like, really?
Well, the odd thing is that exists and that's true, but the comic book artist, those guys get a modicum of adoration for a handful of years.
Yeah.
Because I've adored and loved John Byrne and George Perez and Neil Adams, for 40 plus years. So I've had interactions with all 3 of them and several times, and so they get that for a little while, whereas a lot of painters and stuff, they didn't get that. Especially back in the day, they were sequestered and they were trying to hide their works from the church, and there's all kind of other things going on. Art was considered by some taboo. So it's a goofy world that we dance around in for several reasons.
Well, when I was starting out as a young pup,
when I was but a lad.
Oh yes, most people had just black and white TVs.
It's fair enough. You know what? There's no objections there.
And I mean, let's it's all very interesting. When I broke into animation, there hadn't been new animators in the industry for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I'm like 25 years old when I broke in, and there were no animation schools. It was just learning, by studying, doing exactly the same thing that animators or studio they would just study film. So that's what you would do. You do the live action. You'd study Chaplin. You'd see how he would work things. And it was filmmaking. And using a medium, but studying movement. I mean, I can go on and on. Sorry about, but there's a whole
no.
There's theory of movement. Just as strong as theory of music.
Yeah.
And understanding how to make a character move and act a certain way with timing. You do that without reference of well, you could use reference, but at the same time, where do you bring your art into it?
Right.
That's something, and that's something that so many people forget, that's an important aspect to all of this. And that you've got to be able to do your drawing, time your sheets, do the placement of Mike, Jimmy, you are dealing with that.
Oh,
right
yes.
now.
100%.
Okay. And the thing about it is, when you do this to get the most lifelike aspect to things, you have to understand what kind of effect that you have with your drawings placed from one pose to another, and there's an easing in, easing out of the pose. You're hitting a pose, or you're overlapping your action. You're stretching. There's so much that you need to know to get that control, different from just mechanically moving your image across the page.
Yes.
Hey,
I'm
John.
so happy I'm not at that stage yet.
Hey, listen, it takes a while.
It does.
Professionally, timing is the last. Well, there's there are two different types of animators. One just do it instinctively.
Yes.
And they can do that. And the others, it takes a lot of study and what have you. But you still have to understand the ability. You must have the ability to think critically, but also analyze.
John?
Yes.
Sorry. John, I wanted to ask you a question. It's something I've always wanted to ask you. What artists were you looking at as far as like influences, like for your animation style?
Oh, Bill Teitler. Okay, if Vladimir Teitler. If you don't know who Bill Teitler is, I will just rattle off what he did as an animator for Disney. He animated Grumpy in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, fine. Yeah.
He animated Stromboli in Pinocchio.
Oh, nice.
He animated Baby Dumbo. And he animated the Devil on Night on Bald Mountain.
Was he one of the 9?
No, he was before the 9. He was the ones that everybody wanted to be. You know, you have Milt Kahl, who designed, who really is part of the 9 Old Men, but he was considered the very best draftsman at Disney from the 1940s on, and he influenced the look of so many of the films that you have, at Disney's. But he was one of the 9 Old Men. However, Milt Kahl doesn't have the heart that Bill Teitler has, and he accepted. I mean, he knew that Milt Kahl was very egotistical, very. He said he would tell Disney, "I can't stand it. Why do I have? I mean, do I have to keep fixing people's drawings? And he'd be telling me this about the other 9 Old Men." And so, and there was great. Oh man, they were competing with each other. Those 9 Old Men of Disney's, they were completely, they were always competing with one another. But the thing about the Bill Teitler and Art Babbitt and Norm Ferguson, these were all the people of the 1930s that taught the 9 Old Men. These were the masters. These are the grandmasters. The 9 Old Men came after them, but they stood on their shoulders. So and so that's the difference. So I studied Teitler because I just immediately. I mean, the first piece of animation I actually studied was back in the days. You had a we did, you had Super 8, that home movies, or versions of from sections from the Disney films. So you could take that, and you could you had that for sale, and you could watch it at home. Well, I bought a Super 8, a Dual 8 editing machine, so that I could roll it back and forth, and I could study the animation frame by frame, because it was 24 frames a second, not 16. So I would, and that's what I studied. So I studied the hand washing sequence from Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, where they're all washing their hands and they're doing that. That's all Bill Teitler.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, okay. Well, when you said Stromboli, I was thinking of that fluent movement that Stromboli has, and that bravado he has.
Yeah.
So that kind of.
Oh yeah, but that's after he did Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was that hand watching sequence is what really was the first big, change in from the shorts to feature animation for Disney's. And that's what I was studying, and I didn't realize that it was Bill Teitler. It was only afterwards that I said, "Oh, this is who he is." Yes. So so I studied that, and from that point on, I studied everything, but he was the one that really gave me the big oomph, because he was a cartoonist. He was also an illustrator. He could draw anything, and he was from Yonkers, New York.
Did you ever get the chance to meet him?
No, he died in 1968, and that was years before I became, before I interested in animation. So that's but I did get to meet one person who influenced me as a comic book artist, Wayne Boring. Superman of the night. He was the first assistant to Schuster, Joe Schuster, when in Cleveland, when they started doing. He was the first one, and you see his barrel-chested Superman of the 1950s. He was the Superman guy. And so I learned, I copied him and did all kind of, I just liked his style. Well, it turned out that the first job I had was at New York Tech, and he was one of the layout people on Tubby the Tuba.
Oh,
Cool.
So yeah, so I got to meet him and talk to him, and he, it was very cool. But a lot of these guys, they didn't talk comic books, they didn't talk animation. This is a phenomenon that it's pretty much just us fans.
Yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For them, it was just something that they did, right?
Yeah, it's what they did.
It was a job.
It's a job. Basically, it's a job. But you take pride in the job.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the thing, is that you've learned how to
Master your craft.
as Art Babbitt would say. Okay, Art Babbitt was the first. He was Bill Teitler's best friend. He was at Disney's earlier than Bill Teitler. They both were working at Terry Toons.
Okay.
And working on those. This was pre-Mighty Mouse. It was during that period of time when they were just the mice and whatnot, and it was really, they were cranking it out, and anyway, but Art Babbitt did he was the one who created basically Goofy.
Oh yeah.
He was the first one to analyze things and say, okay, this is your personality. If you Google Art Babbitt, you will see he's the one who started the life drawing lessons after work at Disney. They all would come. He had them hire models, or they pass the hat, to pay for stuff, and so.
Right.
And so anyway, he was the one who started to analyze characters and write down what will the character do, what he wouldn't do, what's the timing like, what's the he was a very very interested and very intelligent gentleman, and he thought he was going to be a dentist, but he needed to help, to make money, and so he didn't. But he said, animation is a craft. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Animation is a craft, and he says, as much, and it says, and if I were a dentist pulling teeth all day, I wouldn't want to go home and pull teeth, or talk about pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can completely get behind that.
So he says, yeah. So I'm not going to go and goof around with stuff. I mean, yeah, it's fine, but wow, I just, so that's where you get your, you get attitudes about, about art and about, it's a job. I want to get paid for it, and when I was growing up, when I was breaking into the industry, one guy said, "You can't eat glory."
No.
That means you get paid for your job. If you're starting out, and you're doing what you can to get the most that you can out of it. But at a certain point, you got to get paid, and you can't just expect the glow to feed your belly.
Right.
Yep.
So, and that's the thing about what I'm, even in my dotage, I do this because I enjoy doing it, but I'm doing it for myself.
Right.
Exactly. I'm pretty much the same. Like, yeah, I'm publishing other people, but I'm publishing their passion.
Hmm.
And besides that, I'm creating my own passions.
Hmm.
And I found that going to conventions and stuff is something I really enjoy. But only tabling. Trust me, I hate being a guest at conventions. I just get tired and I'm done. But yeah, being able to see people do it for them first and the people after, that is one of the most that is one of my favorite things in general in this industry. Like, we all can agree on that one. Like,
Hmm.
the first thing that we did when we started this whole thing was, I want to do this and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's almost like an instinct. It's almost like a need to get it out sometimes.
That's for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we are as artists, even if you're drawing just a still drawing, you are trying to tell a story of some sort.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need to, just allow ourselves and realize that the better the better we understand and be able to use our tools, the better we'll be able to communicate. With our potential audience.
Right.
Yeah, like literally my first comic was from a prompt someone sent me on Facebook about a sage owl fighting a dragon.
Okay.
And I came from being a background concept artist, so like games, stuff like that. Draw this thing for me and make sure that it works in a 3D environment or something like that. And yeah, I drew this guy. I drew this sage owl on top of a building fighting a gigantic dragon. Very nice foreshortened. And I was like, so where do these guys come from? What led up to this story? And that's where my first comic came from. With Love and Cora, like, I want to make a true fantasy. How do I make a true fantasy? Well, we focus on creatures rather than people. And yeah, like, the inspiration sometimes comes from the smallest things you're doing. That's the best part.
You talk about that true fantasy. It's just, which I love to hear. That's kind of like the Dark Crystal. It had nothing to do with humans or anything like that. He actually tried to do that without any intelligible talking. He tried to have the Sketchies in their own language, and he tried to convey it with just movement and the scenery. It didn't work out too well, but
no, but he tried. It's the same kind of way that I have to make La Cora, with dialogue. But if you were to take most of it out, except for a couple of pages where you got exposition galore, I can take most of it out and it would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a visual medium, so being able to at least hold it, have it hold its own, even with dialogue gone, that's the most important.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it's just is, and that's the big thing is, you should be able to tell a story without dialogue.
Yes.
I mean, that's pure storytelling. That's pantomime. That's there's so much, whatever you want to call it. If you need to you can show the story or you could tell the story.
Yes.
And when you're in a video, in a visual medium, why not use the visuals?
Right.
For all its best,
I mean, even in prose, if you know how to write your characters doing their thing and you can take if you got a good prose writer, you can pretty much take out 90% of the dialogue, and the story will still follow.
Right.
And it is still show don't tell in a visual medium. Yeah, it's obviously more visual, but it comes down to the same basics of not everything needs to be like spoon fed to the reader.
Right. Yeah, too much exposition, too much tell, and no show.
Yeah, John Byrne did a whole book that was just, I think it was probably 40 pages, and there was no dialogue at all in it. It was a space adventure, and he did it back in the early 80s or the late 70s. And he's got it collected in one of his editions, but it's beautiful. It's just it's very well told, very well paced out, and you know exactly what's going on, and there's not a word of dialogue in it.
Yeah. There's actually a new graphic novel series that I'm following, where we're following someone's dream world. And so it's completely without dialogue. It's black and white. It's completely in pencil too, which is awesome. But like, it doesn't. You have no idea what's going on, but you just keep reading because every panel has its own feeling, and it matters so much, and it shows so much that every panel has a new question to be answered, and it's incredible.
Huh.
And sadly, only one comes out every 2 years or so, and it sucks.
Yeah. Oh. But if it can keep you interested and it doesn't have, dialogue, that's an amazing feat. It is definitely an amazing feat.
Just to brush up on your own skills, have anybody ever taken like a 6 or 8 page story, try to do that? No dialogue?
Not really. But then again, I don't do writing, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
I just
what I try to do with.
Go ahead, Marv. Sorry.
What I tried. Sorry, sorry about the delay. What I tried to do with the Sim Killer was to try to tell a story only through feelings. The story is about pain, loss, and friendship. And every time I do a panel, I try to give as much as feelings that I can give, because I saw a couple of years ago. This is, you don't know me. This is my second comic, Rebel of Souls, and I tried to learn as much as I could since I started to do this comic. And one thing that I've learned is what you talked earlier, to show but not to tell, and that's how I started this comic, is to show the feelings and to show the mood of the comic and the personality of the characters without any kind of language or balloons or whatever. I just try every time I do something to express, try to transmit something to the reader, so he doesn't need always to have some exposition or a balloon explaining what he's feeling or what is going on. So that was my main goal about how to tell the story. And I can't remember from who I got this, but I've learned a lot through that. So every time I do something, I try to use that technique, and it really I think it really fits the characters. And I'll keep doing it because it became my way of making a comic.
I mean, yeah, like besides needing an editor for dialogue mainly, because you're doing pretty much the Marvel way. You crank out the art and then you put in the dialogue, and it works. But yeah, you can definitely see that your ability to convey emotion and like make the environment fit the whole of the thing, like your art conveys itself. And you could definitely take out all dialogue in the Sin Killer, especially in the second one, and you would have a great you would have a great standalone story. The dialogue does help a little, but it
Yes, of course.
but yeah, like it's definitely one of your strong suits.
Thank you.
I need to look at your stuff.
Oh no,
'Cause I'm curious how you do that. How you convey the emotions and everything. Do you do it with lighting, contrast? Are you doing it in the faces of the characters, camera angles, all that?
A little bit of everything of what you mentioned, because I'm a huge I'm a huge horror fan since I was a little kid, since I was 8 or 10.
Okay.
And I always loved the emotions in movies of the victims, of the villains, the Dracula, the Bela Lugosi, expressions of the eyes, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Was with me all the time, the Frankenstein, all those classic movies, and later when the internet came to my life, the EC comics and everything that is horror comic from back in the day is a huge influence to me. And I tried to pick a little bit of here, a little bit of that. And lately, I never read The Crow or anything related to Mignola, but I'm a huge fan of both of them. I was able to read it if I wanted because there's the internet, but it's not the same thing as the first time that I picked up, a Captain America book or a Fantastic Four or whatever, so I haven't done that because of it, but I want to buy those books and read them. But I just picked up a little bit. I Frankenstein my own stuff, because I have those influences, and I can send you a link of my comic and you can read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I might do that now.
I'm like these are the textless pages that I'm showing off right now, and it really speaks for itself. It is so amazing on the negatives,
the negative space in his work is awesome.
Man.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
Very nice.
You can definitely look at it and say that's MarV.
Yeah.
Yes. In every right way.
Yeah, right.
It's very it's great to have your own particular style, but it comes out of, there's a certain thing that if you're not trying to emulate somebody else, you can be influenced, but if you allow, this gets back to the idea of just drawing getting your muscle memory as just doing it. Okay, I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah.
And I'll do it. And if you just draw and that's what comes out.
Yeah.
If you haven't, and if you don't do that, you're always just going to be a carbon copy of somebody else.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's the thing too. Like, influences should be a very big thing on a creative's journey, because you have to be able to study. You have to be able to understand why they did something in a certain way. But you also have to be able to tell yourself, okay, but here's how we are going to do it. And like when I look at MarV stuff, like I'm seeing a lot of Batman the Animated Series. But a lot more gruesome, and you're seeing a lot of 80s and 90s cartoons, especially 90s for you. But you're also seeing more realistic shapes, very realistic faces, which would very much pull from Marvel and DC. And Yeah, like there's a great mix of influences that you just made your own, and you're still just doing your own thing.
Are you a?
I tried for years.
Marv,
to draw like Buscema, and I was getting frustrated. Oh god.
Marv, are you a fan at all? Or are you familiar at all with an artist named Howard Chaykin?
No, the name doesn't ring a bell. No.
Okay, he did some books here in America called American Flag, and
Yeah. You
I'm
said
sure
that
you've paid
American
him
flag.
before. Yeah.
yeah, when I saw your pages, I don't know why, but he immediately popped into my mind, and I think it's because of the way you're using your negative space. And he would do that, but he would fill that with zipatone and type textures and stuff like that. But that's what it reminded me of, and that's a good thing. So yeah, definitely cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that comic. Yeah, I remember that.
Let me see if I
Thank
can grab one to show the audience, because this is news to me as well. There we go. StreamYard, and stop this screen, make a new one. There we go. So, there we go. Oh yeah, I see. Especially stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is great stuff.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, see the zipatone in the background?
Yeah.
And that's real zipatone. That's not Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's cut and paste zipatone. You haven't lived till you had to do a book and do zipatone.
No, trust me. I feel very much alive, and I'm happy I got digital art.
That's news to me. I feel alive. I'm going to keep that part. You haven't wished you were alive until you haven't lived until you wished you were dead.
Well, I remember, this is in the '60s when I was doing my first as a high school kid and doing my first comic strips and using zipatone, and then cutting it with an X-Acto knife but then also trying to do a little taking the button and put a separate level on top and then just kind of change the dynamics of it.
Oh yeah.
So it wouldn't just be done, just to get some kind of a feeling, because I was trying to do comic strips for trying to get crack into the syndicated market, which is that was my first thing that I wanted to do.
Right.
So you learned all sorts of stuff to, make sure it reproduces in a newspaper.
Yeah. No, that's really funny. I mean, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that. But then again, I didn't grow up on zipatone. I grew up on flats on someone's amazing brush work. Because yes, zipatone never became a thing here in Europe all that much.
Really?
And I only really got introduced to it when manga started to get popular here in the early 2000s. With it being the new big thing. Until then I was like, you do everything with a brush. What are you talking about? Maybe a dip pen if you're adventurous.
That's interesting.
I think the idea behind that was to try to save ink, if I'm not mistaken. I think somebody told me
that. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Instead of having to use all that black, it helped to cut down on some of that printing costs.
That's interesting, because the thing that I remember about zipatone I think I tried to purchase some when I was like late in high school. And the thing that I really remember was just like how insanely expensive it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was over $10 a sheet.
Oh, wait a minute. When were you? When were you in high school?
I would say like the late 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah. I completely. I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
That is a whole different ballpark right there.
I was long gone from that using back then. That's what I'm just. But it was, yeah, you're right, and everything would be expensive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was right at the age of computer coloring for comics. So Zipatone had kind of gone the way of the dodo bird. So it was nobody was carrying it anymore, and it was hard to find. So if you found it, you were going to pay for it.
Yeah, I don't think you can find it anymore.
Yeah, because I remember going to the art stores here in Cincinnati and being able to find it, pretty affordably. And then I remember going and seeing it, not having used it for 10 or 12 years, and going, wow, look how expensive that stuff is now. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can still get it. It might not be called Zipatone, but I know in Japan it's still very actively used, so you can actually still easily get it. But
Screen tones.
Screen tones, Zipatones, all those names.
Well, that's a lot of. I mean, it's the pens and pencils, and it's still being used. I mean, we're talking about not quill pens, but fountain pens and things of that sort. Are still calligraphy is still is a thing in Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is all about the simplicity of the line and making it flow and all that, and it's still traditional, items are still used.
Yes. I mean, as a traditional inker, my favorite kind of, dip pen is still a G pen, which is literally the most used one in Japan right now. And it's not that, oh my God, it's Japan, it's amazing. No, it's a great dip pen. It works. It's amazing.
Okay. I'm going to show you some antique stuff. Hold on a second.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
But no, as far as Grant was saying, yeah, I went looking for Zip Tone before too, and I couldn't find anywhere. I want to say I might have found some on eBay, but I'm sure they have like Japanese stores that might have it and everything.
I've seen in the last week, I've seen 3 different quote unquote kids on Instagram using Zipatone.
Shut up! No, you haven't.
Reels.
Okay.
Oh wow!
Oh my God!
And I'm like, is this making a comeback? What's the deal here?
Yeah, it's bootleg. It's bootleg Zipatone. That's what's happening.
Let's take a look at some stuff here that you don't really see anymore. Look at this here is a pen holder.
Yeah. Oh wow!
Here are some speedballs.
I've got.
And,
wow! I've got some.
Quill pens. Let's see. You could see that.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get my fucking pencil case because I use those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on.
All right. Let's see
use
here. Yeah. Let's see. This
Is that the 102?
This is, I can't read it because I'm old. This is a Crow-Quill.
Yeah, the Crow-Quill. Yeah.
Crow-Quill. And this one here is the Hunts. I think this is the 102. What is this one here? God, I can't see with the light, but
yeah. Oh yeah, I've got a box of those.
Yeah. Okay, so and let's see here. Let me just pull this one out here. This here is a Winsor Newton. This is a Series 7 Winsor Newton #2.
Ah, yes. Now
Red
that is a classic.
Sable.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Red Sable.
Red Sable.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, this here, I bought this back in 1986, 87.
And it still goes.
But it still goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that you don't get anymore. You don't get the ability to have a fine point like this
No.
on anything, because it's right to the very tip, and that allows you to have that incredibly thick, varied, thick and thin line.
Yes.
You know, you've got others that are sort of like that, but they're not really the same.
So
You know,
that is actually,
it doesn't hold up because it's not, the qualities are not the same.
Yeah. So that is a fun thing, right? Because I will show you my secret. So
Okay.
this is
Oh.
literally my main dip pen. Well, actually, it's the one with the tape on it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So it has these extra flanges that
Yeah.
actually make, like, that is a G pen, and it allows you to go from 0.1 to 3 millimeters.
Yeah. I mean, it gives you a thick and thin line
Yes.
with that.
Like a brush would, but it's a lot more forgiving. You need to put more pressure on it, which means, you got a little more control.
Right.
Then you got your classic crown.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
And last week, I decided, let's go mini. And I have a flip.
Oh, cool.
Pen that is absolutely tiny. It gives the most control. And it's literally half a G pen.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Focus. Run it.
Well.
Yeah. Golly.
Yeah. That's and
fine.
that's the thing. Yeah. Where did you get what brand is that? Or where did you get that from?
It is a beak, and I got it from my local art store.
I mean, no. What I meant was who manufactures it?
Beak, literally. So
Beak.
B-I-C.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And then I have a couple of different crowns. I have circle tip ones. I don't know the name of these anymore, but
that's a speedball.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a speedball.
That's a speedball.
Because you can't have a fine enough tip. This doesn't have flanges at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so thin that it can literally do a 0.5. It's great for hatching.
Yeah.
And of course, my tiny ink jar.
Okay.
And that is what I do.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Oh. Now that is something that still needs to be in my collection.
Well, yeah. The thing is that I haven't been doing ink work in such a long time, but that's kind of, I try to use that same kind of setup for with a pencil and with Blackwing pencils, so that I can get a thick and thin line. But but that's from animation.
Yeah,
that's my animation process. Let me throw this here. For those who haven't seen this here, this is what we started with as the. Where is the? Let's see. Let's just go off of that. Yeah, that was that one, and then. Where's the? Okay, so. that was our start point. And then we go to that one, and then that's where we are now. So now I played around with it so that there's something that we can, when I throw this down, when I go all the way down like that, I'm just intending for that. This is still rough.
Yeah.
But that big angel is really a combination of both the good and bad angels within this, within the series, and but this is a watermark feeling.
Yeah.
So, and it's really, it's something, once again, you're not going to be reading this every time you look at it, but I just wanted to, for those who need to understand a little bit more of the backstory, this is it.
Yeah.
And so that's the layout, basically.
I love the flow of damn it, I lost the name. I love the flow at the bottom.
Oh yeah, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's why you start off with that as your basic understanding of all that, and then you just kind of play with this shapes here. I'm still playing around with it, I'm just trying to get things like, and I'll use the pointer only. Oh no, let me put another sheet of paper on. It's not a sheet of paper. It's another layer.
Another layer, close enough.
Okay, on top of here. Okay, so with a red pencil and here, like I'm still trying to do there, that flow there, but also this breaks, but it's still that to that, Again,
you create a perfect wave going over the logo, and
so basically it's there to be pleasing to look at, and I break up the show. I sort of break up the naughty bits here by covering it with the with the hair, but you still see the legs here. So you have a break. You have the hip into here, and then a knee here, but this straight here. So I'm playing around with all of this right now, but it's all, once again, muscle memory. Just I'm not worried about what the what the form is. It's still the flow of all this. So, but thanks.
Yeah, no, that looks great.
Yeah, I'm digging it. It looks really cool.
I'm pretty much doing the same. Like, especially this one, it's very hard foreshortened.
Yeah.
Also, Grant, you have been invited for the morning roast.
Oh, yeah?
There we go. I'm going to be honest. Grant and I knew each other only from chats, not really from hanging out in voice chats or whatever. So, this is a first for us, too.
Yeah.
But if you want a really fun morning show, the Morning Roast by Sugar Chris every Monday and Friday at 11:15 a.m. It's fun.
Yeah, Chris. If you want to send me a message on Facebook, it's Grant Lankard.
No, I'm actually done with this half of the page. Wow, that was fast. Let me see. Oh, don't need page 23. Okay, we're running up to 1.5 hours. So, guys, I am going to ask you where people can find you. Let's start at the bottom right with Mr. John Celestri.
Well, I'm at Celestri John as a Twitter handle. You can find me also on YouTube as with John Celestri. I've got my channels, animation videos and what have you, and drawing. Facebook, John Celestri. And Bloodwing Angel Chronicles is coming up. You can check it out with the pre-launch page on Indiegogo.
I had a preview. It's great.
Thank you. And so you'll be able to see. There's all kinds of things. There's videos and it's a fun show. It's going to be the third book in the series of this ongoing thing. That's the thing, is that we reached 120 pages of story. So it's starting to pick up. There you go.
Rodney, where can people find you?
All right. You can find me on Instagram at Rodney_Fyke. You can also find me on Facebook at Rodney Fyke Art on Facebook and on Twitch. You can find me on the Hasm YouTube channels. That's HAZZUM, or you can go to hasm.com and check out all of our books, such as Peanut Pudding and Jelly, Unchained, Pitter Patter, and Roadkill Rampage. Also, you can check me out on Thursdays and Friday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern. When Sean Forney and I do shows on Thursday night called Thursday Night Throwdown and Friday night called Friday Night Draw, where we get on and we work on commissions or artwork or whatever we have to get done and talk all things nerdy from 8 to 9:30.
Nice.
Yeah, and check out Roadkill Rampage 3 on Kickstarter.
I gotta say, you're missing something here.
Yes, we're going 5 more days.
Yeah.
So go check it out. If it's not your bag, that's
quick,
fine,
lovely.
but you just share it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Of course. Grant.
Yeah, so I have a very distinct name. It's Grant Lankard, Lankard. So if you just search for that in Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, it's going to come up. And again, Sugar Chris, please get a hold of me, because I'm very curious who he is now, because I don't recognize the name Sugar Chris, but I'm sure I've met him.
It's Chris Evans.
Chris Evans.
Chris
Okay.
Chris
Chris
Evans.
Evans,
I'm
but-
sitting here saying it and I'm on mute. It's Chris Evans.
It's Chris Evans, but it's not the actor.
Yeah, not the actor.
This Chris Evans is much better looking, right?
Yeah, totally. He's got the beard and everything. MarV, where can people find you?
People can find me every Saturday here, and you can find me on Facebook as MarV Scene Killer and MarV Artwork on Instagram. And by the way, I want to say thank you to John for figuring out what's the problem with my proofs. So thank you, John, for that. Now I can. I just got an email from. I just got an email from Nixon. Asking me about the quality of the proofs, and I'm going to take some pictures. And thanks to John, I will be able to make a point of my what's the name? Reclaim. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for being here. See you next time.
Sweet.
Yeah, of course, you can always check out my Linktree at Linktree/SaveMichaelLanning. It should probably be in the links of the show. Also, check me out on Tuesdays when we do Dispatches from Outside the Box, where we scour the corners of geekdom to inspire you to create outside the box. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we pick a topic and kind of dive into that just to see how it influences us and what we create. So check that out.
And I've been your host, Mike Jimmy. You can find everything about me over on my Linktree /Fairies and Ends. And if you want to see Tall Tales, Oswald Chronicles, or Bloodwing Angel Chronicles in A4 very soon, be sure to head over to my website, fairiesandends.com. Of course, here I am on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern for my animation show, Hung on Animation, where I'm working on the animated pilot for Life on Korra. And as always, on 10 a.m. Eastern, on Saturdays, I'm here again with MarV, and John Celestri. I think Rodney is going to be a regular too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun in this panel, guys. There is a lot of talent here. And I'm excluding myself from that one.
Oh, please.
Come on.
You're the master of ceremonies here. You're the ringleader.
Exactly.
All right. Stay awesome, lovelies. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye. Take care.